Hi, with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the continued media coverage of drownings in the Mediterranean Sea in Europe of illegal aliens, and migrants they call them, but it's illegal aliens, let's use the proper term, people who are being shipped by illegal people traffickers, illegally entering, and so on. I mean, there's just a smorgasbord of wall-to-wall illegality, but that's never mentioned in these articles. Why do these people drown? Is it because of leaky boats that are overcrowded and all this sort? No. It's because of those damn white fucking fascist fucking Nazis all over the Western world that don't like mass migration of brown and black peasants into the West, 2/3 of whom end up on welfare. So unsurprisingly, they're illiterate in their own language, for goodness sakes. Now, let's just sort of pull this apart, because the omission and the propaganda and the lies, obviously in support of globalization, in support of mass migration, the lies are just quite breathtaking in their scale and scope, and again in their omission. So let's just sort of have a look at this. Now, the blame for these people drowning isn't their illegal behavior, the illegal people traffickers, and we'll come back to that in a minute. None of that. It's because there are no safe pathways. They love using this one. No safe pathways for these people to illegally enter Europe. And because of that, they have to find other ways of doing it. They have to do it. They must and have to do it, compelled to do it. What this compulsion is quite beyond me, but again, we'll have another look at that. So they're compelled to do take these perilous journeys because of all the evil fucking fascist fucking Nazi Hitlers in the West that disagree with mass migration. Now, if it wasn't for them, the white people, mostly straight white males, by the way, if it wasn't for those people opposing mass migration or questioning it, then these people wouldn't take these dangerous routes to enter illegally. They would have safe, welcoming, we'll pay for everything, every illiterate peasant in the world come to the West. Then if that system existed, then these people wouldn't take the dangerous routes, and therefore wouldn't end up exposing themselves to these sort of risks, such as the drownings. So that's the sort of argument that they use, and when factually is shot to pieces, which easily can be, then they say, well, it's the morally right thing to do. What the fuck does that even mean? So let's go back to this apportioning blame, because the blame all lies with white people in the West, particularly straight white males that don't like mass migration or disagree with it or question it. And that means they're the real cause. They're the cause of these drownings and these deaths. And if they're the cause of it, that means they're murderers. They're Nazi fucking murderers. That's what they are, and there's no one else to blame. No one else to blame. So let's look at the reality of this. Now, the mass migration is coming from the most overpopulated and poorest parts of the planet. And I guess this isn't surprising. If you live in a poor, overpopulated, no prospects type area, then you would be certainly easily swayed by propagandists and activists and people smugglers and all sorts of folks like that. You'd be susceptible to their message of, hey, guess what? You can go to these rich white countries. Look how rich they are. Look, they're not like this little mud hut thing that you live in the middle of nowhere. Look at this. Look at all those cars. Look at all those tall buildings. Look at all those people wearing nice clothes. And wow, you can have that. You can go to those places, those rich white countries, and you can have that. Oh, I don't know. How would I be able to get there? Not a problem. Not a problem. We'll transport you there. You will? Oh, yes. But what will I do I've got no money. What will I do for food and drink. And I mean, there's some pretty hot places. There's some deserts, hundreds of miles of desert I got to cross. I got to cross oceans. How am I going to do all that? No, we'll fix all of that for you. We'll give you all the food, but I've got no clothes. We'll supply clothes, we'll supply food, we'll supply shelter, we'll supply water, we'll supply transport, we'll supply it all. But I can't afford to pay, no, free of charge. And now the final, people smuggle a gig, getting across the Mediterranean Sea, that you may pay for. But most of the journey will be for free, provided by NGOs, various groups and organisations that are funded by the George Soroses and all that sort of thing. So, I don't know. I'll leave my mother behind, and and she needs help. Not a problem. We'll give you $100 US. We'll give $100 US to your mother in this dirt poor shithole you live in. That's 12 months, and by the time you get to the West and make all this money, because they'll give you free everything over there. They're so rich, they'll give you free everything. Then you can send money back to your mother, and she'll live like a queen, and she'll be the most important, respected person in the village, because all the money you'll send her, and your family will be the most respected family in the area. And oh yeah, wow, respect, yeah, oh yeah, fuck, that's great. Now, if you're a simple sort of peasant, and bear in mind, some of these people have no concept of distance. They may never have been more than a few miles outside of their village. We're talking people who are illiterate in their own language, who've never had a job, who know nothing other than what they've seen on television, or maybe on the one mobile phone thing that they've got in the village, something like that, which probably has been given to them by NGO activists anyway. So they decide, oh yeah, okay, wow. How far away is this place called England, or France or something? Not far. It's not far. We'll help you get there. It's not far. You see that hill over there? Well, it's just on the other side of that hill. And then now this peasant's never been past the other side. Oh, okay, right. Yeah. So all sorts of deception, all sorts of trickery and cunning and so on is used, and every inducement imaginable is used to get the peasant to make the commitment to go. And they'll try and get more. So why don't you take your cousin with you, and then Magumbo and Mabumbo can both go together, and all this sort of stuff. Now they do this in the rural areas of India and the rural areas of Africa, and the overpopulated parts of the world where there is a plethora, armies, massive armies of illiterate simple peasants that live rurally and live hand to mouth and so on. Now, on top of that, they go the United Nations agitators, the same sort of agitators that stir up those peasants. They also go to the refugee camps and places like that, where there are, say, conflict, East Africa, where there are things like civil wars and the like, and they'll go into those camps and say to them, hey, guess what? You can go over to the Europe and rich white country, and they'll give you everything, and you'll get free this and that, the next thing, which is largely true, by the way. Maybe not quite as extensive as they say, but free nonetheless. You look at the entitlement of the third world people that arrive in England, for example. Wow, we want 5-star food. We want 5-star accommodation. 3.5-star accommodation, no good. Accommodation that your national service soldiers get not good enough for us. We want 5-star everything. Now, we need to also understand that in these dirt poor third world basket cases, they've got a very different concept to wealth and ownership of property and things. They don't own land and own things in the way that you might own your spear, or you might own your hunting knife or something. That you can own. But outside of that, food and resources are communally owned. And in a dirt poor, agricultural hand-to-mouth society like that never really breaks out beyond that. For example, the well that you get water from, that is communally owned. And most things are communally owned. There's very little that isn't communally owned. So you kind of share everything. And it's almost communist in its structure. Now, remember, it's farming out meager resources and sharing it amongst themselves. But the idea of somebody not having something to eat in the village, that's unthinkable. So they would share their food. Each would give up a little bit of what they had to share it with someone else. So there's a very different attitude to things. So when they come to a society that has lots of wealth, lots of things, like as a Western society, in their cognizance, in the cognizance of these simple, illiterate, third world, never worked, never had a job peasants who lives in that subsistence social system, when they come to a first world country where there's vast amounts of wealth, they assume, well, you've got so much. Wow, fuck, you've got so much. Why won't you share it with us? You are obligated to share that. That's how the world works. You're supposed to share that with us. And if you won't, then you're evil and bad, and you're a Nazi and a fascist, and they'll be given, what a fascist? What's a fascist? Any white person who won't give you whatever you want on demand. Oh, okay, fuck. All right, I'll remember that. So when these people arrive in the West, they have very different views, and they're motivated. You've got so much, and you'll share it with us. And they have this concept of community sharing that capitalist societies and white societies don't have. Now, it doesn't mean that there's a lot of there isn't philanthropy and so on in the West. There is, and a lot of it. But being compelled to share by someone who makes or wants to make and has made no contribution to your society, that's a different matter. And philanthropy sort of, I think, stops there in many ways stops there. So that's something. Now, none of the press articles I've seen talk about the real villains here, that the agitators that go into these villages, that get in the heads of these simple illiterate peasants, that the massive and hugely expensive infrastructure that moves these peasants in large numbers from their little mud hut rural village to the West. And remember that in some cases they're making journeys of thousands of miles across very inhospitable territory. And there are way stations and accommodation, food, drink. They don't even bother washing clothes. They just give them a whole new set of clothes, much for a designer label too. You look at the amount. There was one interview where the guys mentioned how many, I think it was Adidas or Reeboks or whatever, how many pairs of joggers that he went through and so on. And this guy spent, more money was spent on this guy and his joggers in weeks than I would spend in a couple of years on joggers. And here's this illiterate peasant from the middle of nowhere. So all this encouragement, all this inducement, all the lies, the propaganda, the hustling, the illegal people smugglers, the illegal inducement, the illegal propagandizing, and the illegal radicalization of these people, they're not being stopped. And okay, well, let's put you in a place where you can learn good English, or let's try and give you some job skills, or maybe learn something how to use a computer or thing, and none of that. It's all just moving them en masse into the West. Now, it's you can't deny that it's an international globalist plan to do this. Such massive resources are being dedicated to it. So when you look at this, there's none of this mentioned in the press articles. It's only mentioned those who oppose or question mass migration are the only villains. None of these other people, the people smugglers, none of them have got even a tiny sort of smidgen of guilt associated with them. So when they put this crappy fucking boat that's leaking and is completely up the shit, and they overload it with these illiterate peasants who have no idea. Some of them have never even seen water before, or maybe a river or a stream or something, but nothing like this. And just crammed in the boat. So yeah, it's just over there. Yeah, look, it's not a problem. It's just this boat's leaking. No, it's just over the horizon there. You'll be good. You'll be good to go. Go on, off you go. Give us your money. And a lot of this is of course understandable and even predictable. There's going to be drownings. Wow. How else is it going to end? But none of these other people are, the people smugglers, the agitators, the stirrers, the propagandists. None of them have anything to answer for, according to these globalist media articles. And again, they come back to it's only those who oppose or question mass migration are at fault. Because if those people didn't exist, then all these folks we welcome in, because a borderless world is what we should have. We should have a borderless world. We do not have a borderless world. Therefore, everything is wrong with the world. And that's very much their attitude to predetermining outcomes. So I just wanted to go over that and look at the amount of drownings as completely down to the globalist people movement scams, the people smugglers, many of which are funded and subsidised by NGOs and so on. The NGO boats that prowl the Mediterranean, a lot of it paid for by the German taxpayer, for fuck's sake. So this is it, but the alternative is that there should be open mass migration of anybody who wants to come at any time from anywhere to the West. But the only people who are going to want to come to the West are the people from the dirt poor countries. But if you took out the street level or village level agitators, if you took out the massive infrastructure to move and transport these people, if you took out the people smugglers from the equation and so on, if you took all that out, none of these people would even make the journey to begin with. They wouldn't even attempt it. So let's not be shy about blaming the people that need to be blamed. Whoever encourages these illiterate, simple peasants to make the journey is the de facto murderer of these people. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.